What's up, party people? Jude Mossberg here from Facebook. Jude's Junk, Facebook comic book shop and YouTube channel. And as the market, a lot of people I've been chatting with, comic toms, auction houses, says that we've hit a bottom. And prices are starting to go up. They're starting to go up on the big rails, and then they'll slowly start to go up on the key blue chips as well. And we've been used to this environment where everything's gone down for 3, 4, 5 years. I just wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on how I think prices are going to change and how they're going to go up. And when a lot of buyers say, what is the value of a book? And they look at the last sale and it's $400. But the cheapest one anywhere available in the world is $800 on eBay. You could continue looking for a book that was close to the last sale, but that doesn't mean that's what its value is. That means one seller was willing to sell it for that. He needed the cash and he was okay with that. Now you need to find another seller who's willing to sell it for $400. The lowest person on eBay, and let's say it's not that rare of a book, maybe there's a couple available, but whoever is selling it, the lowest they'll go is $800. Now imagine it's a book that has many different copies, and it's easier to think through this if there's many copies out there. If it's rare and only one or two are posted, then maybe this idea doesn't work. But if the last sale was $400, but the cheapest available online is $800, everybody can wait and try to find a price for someone to sell it for $400. And someone might say, you know what, I want to do that. But you got to think, if there was 100 sellers of any book on eBay, only one of those is the lowest. That means only one out of those 99 sellers is willing to sell it for the cheapest. That means all other 99 sellers out of the 100 are not willing to go down to the lowest price sale, because in their mind, they'd rather keep the book than take that low of a sale. They can wait. They can wait a year, 2, 3, 4 years. Not every seller is desperate. Not every dealer is desperate, especially on the bigger keys. These, for people say they're not investments, they very well can be viewed as an investment by a lot of us that have bigger books. I just had a client that wanted to sell an AF-15 a couple months ago. He was willing to take $18,000. He just told me not anymore. Now he's going to take $19,000, and he's seen it go up. I'm seeing the prices go up. These big keys, the prices are starting to go up. And these are on auctions where they're paying full tax and everything. So when you look at last sale out there, let's just say it's a normal purchase where it was the lowest price available. Could be a hidden auction that nobody knows about, nobody's watching. It could be an international buyer on eBay and he just wants to get the cheapest one available, but he wants that book. There's a lot of different reasons, but I want you to think of this fact, though. If there's 100 books out there and there's one lowest price, that means 99 people are not willing to sell at the lowest price. So if you say the last sale, which was that book for $400, let's say, doesn't include the 6% tax that last buyer paid or the $20 in shipping. So 6 times 400 is 24 and 20. So it's really a $644 out the door that buyer paid. But people on social media see it in GPA and say, hey, did I do $644? They bought it for $400. Tax and shipping, $20 shipping, that's $444 is what they paid. But people are saying the last sale was $400. So I want to pay $400, completely shipped. I get it. Totally go for it. And if you can get it, that's great. The market's starting to change. If you're looking for key hot books, not every seller wants to be the absolute cheapest low-cost provider on eBay or anywhere. Now, people that take auctions is a completely different beast. They want as much cash as possible. They find an auction house that they hope they can trust, and they just hope for the best. And usually these people are willing to take less. Now, if they sell it on eBay, obviously they lose 15%. It's also taxable. There's other implications with eBay. But most people look at eBay as like, trying to get an idea of what this comic book is worth. And so I often will sell books that are the cheapest I can find anywhere in the world are double the last sale. And it very well may be that my last purchase was what made that last sale so low. I got a great deal on an auction. They reported it, and everybody else is looking for that deal that I got. No one out there is giving it because no one's wants to get that low of amount for their book. So they're not putting it up on auctions. They're just either holding it or they're throwing it up on eBay for what they're willing to take. So if the last sale was 400, but the cheapest available on eBay is 800, and nobody else in the world is selling this book, now we get down to books that are not found everywhere. Maybe there's only 16 of these in the world. I'm looking at a book right now. There is only 17 of these books in the world, 9/8 blue labels. Last sale was 400. Cheapest available on eBay is 800. There's a lot of people that make the argument that, well, the value is 800. And I've written before on what does value really mean? What does fair market value really mean? And a lot of people interpret those things differently than the way those words were intended. But if nobody else in the world is willing to sell it for less than 800, and nobody's willing to pay that much, then there's just not going to be any sales. Someone eventually might want that book where they're willing to pay 800. And you see this on GPA all the time. Boom, boom, boom. And this is what we've been seeing recently. Boom, boom, boom. 300, 400. It's clicking along. Boom, someone pays $1,000 for it. And you're like, whoa, they overbid. They overpaid. That's what people will say on Comic Tom. They overpaid. Maybe. Some people just want the book. They want the book now. There's a big signing coming up. They're going to get a $500 signature on that book. It's a $400 book, $500 signature, and it might be worth $2,000 when it's signed. I just saw the Ozzy Osbourne comic books from Rock and Roll Comics from 1989, the 2 Ozzy books. They're going through the roof, the ones that are signed by Ozzy. Like last sale was $1,250, and then the cheapest on eBay is $1,500 right now. I almost considered buying the one for $1,500. These books, not the ones signed by Ozzy, but the ones that weren't signed by Ozzy were probably worth $50. But if you can get Ozzy to sign it, boom, before he died, of course, then it shoots up. I just got Mr. T to sign 2 A-Team books. One was actually the only signed Canadian copy, 9.8 in the world, and another was a 9.8 blue label American version. I got Mr. T to sign both. If he dies tomorrow, that book would easily be worth over, well, the Canadian one's already selling for $2,000, so it could be $3,000 or $4,000. But the point is, it might be a $200 book, but if you can get a signature, it might be worth $1,000. So am I going to squabble on paying $200 for the book? Or do I just want to get on eBay and buy the cheapest one available at $400 and be like, I don't care if I paid $200 more than the last guy. I need the book because if I can get this signature now, it might increase the value tremendously. So there's a lot of reasons why the last sale might be $200 and then the next sale is $400. If nobody else in the world, and when I say world, yeah, there's comic book shops around that might have it cheaper. Good luck finding them. If they don't put all their books online, if they don't have a searchable database, if they don't have a relationship with GPA where it shows you which books are for sale, they don't have a paid relationship with GPA, then you and I can't find it if it's not online. And if it's just so you can drive around to every comic book store in the country and look for these, but nobody can do that. That's very, very time consuming. And nowadays, most people are saying the deals aren't at the comic book shop. They're usually behind the times, so they're probably overpriced. So again, when you see a last sale, let's say it's 400, and there was 100 sellers on eBay, there was only one that was willing to sell it for the cheapest amount. The other 99 are pricing it higher than what's on eBay. And people on Facebook get mad when sellers try to sell things more than what the cheapest price is on eBay. Now, I get it. I like people coming to me and say, hey, I can get this for $350 shipped on eBay. Do you want to do less? I usually love that. Yes, I can do cash. I can find ways to cut costs, and I can give it to you for $325 shipped. And a lot of times people say, done. Because that's kind of my strategy is I'd like to try to beat the cheapest price on eBay. But I never say guaranteed because I say I try to beat it. Because there is the 5 to 10% of the time where it's just a great book. I know it's a good investment. I'd rather keep it then sell it for less. And so again, I go back to this idea of if everybody that's putting it out for sale is putting it on eBay or other websites for $800, but the last purchase was $400, everybody has to make decisions. Do I wait and look for something? A lot of people like to do that. Do I want it now? Do I just pay the higher price? Some people do that. Do the sellers end up changing their price and lower them? Possibly. Do the buyers end up offering a little more and the sellers come down? Sure. But we're in a market where if things are starting to go back up, which I'm seeing on the big grails on a lot of these auctions, I'm not getting the crazy deals like I did the last 2 years where I was paying 50% fair market value. It is going up, and the new sales are going above last sales, above 90-day average in many cases for the biggest books. So just something to consider if you're wanting the book for $400, but the cheapest on eBay is $800, sure, you can hold out, of course. And I would probably do the same thing, unless you want that book. And this is why I did a video on, I think we could see a spike in prices like we did before. It's not going to be an MCU spike, but the DCU is hitting it right now. Fantastic Four is doing well, so that's going to spike some MCU. That's going to spike some mutant excitement. MCU excitement, the DCU excitement. So it might be related to MCUs, but it's just going to go back up because it just went too low. The market's going to overcorrect now. We just went low, 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 low. And everyone's like, okay, it's too low. I'm going to jump back in and buy it. And now that's what we're seeing, I believe. So, it's the gamble, right? Do you wait and get it cheaper? Do you want it before it goes up? So those people that are selling that book at $800, but the last sale was $400, they might raise their prices if they start to see this book jump up. You know, all someone has to do is one person has to pay $800 for that book that last sold for $400, and you might see all those other prices jump up to $900. That Ozzy book that was just signed by Ozzy just sold for $12.50. A new one's on eBay selling for $14.50. That's the way it works. The demand is hot. If you want an Ozzy book signed, you loved him, and that's going to just look great on your wall forever, $200, is it really that big of a deal? It might shoot up to $2,000. He just passed away, and people aren't even knowing that there's an Ozzy book out there signed by Ozzy. You know, someone's going to buy that. Someone overseas that has stupid money just gets on eBay and buys this stuff, and that's why sometimes you see these crazy high bids when you can get it cheaper on eBay because they're overseas. And some sellers won't ship overseas, and they got to pay tax, and they got to do all this, and there is mechanisms in place for those international buyers to buy the book in the U.S. without shipping overseas. They can hold the book in the U.S. and never pay customs, and when they want, they just turn around and sell the book in the U.S. so they don't have to do that shipping back and forth and customs and tariffs and everything. And a lot of these auction sites are offering that service now. Anyways, if it's informative, let me know. If you think I'm full of it, let me know too. Happy hunting, guys.